This crazy looking BMW XM is the first of its kind. It's the first dedicated M car to have a plug-in hybrid powertrain. And that's really important because M cars are supposed to represent the pinnacle of BMW performance, meaning they're supposed to be the most capable and the most hardcore. And I'm gonna come out and say it right on top. This starts at $220,000 in Canada, which makes me feel some type of way. Poor. It makes me feel very poor. And I know a lot of you, when you think performance vehicles, you're not necessarily thinking about a big, heavy plug-in hybrid SUV. But the very nature of performance vehicles is changing as electrification becomes more normal. And BMW is trying really hard to make this groundbreaking SUV a lot of things to a lot of people.
For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that.
In terms of style, this XM has divided the whole internet. So I posted a picture of it to my Instagram the other day and my DMs were flooded with people who had really strong opinions on both sides. So some people messaged me and told me it was ugly and downright offensive. Other people said that they loved it and that it was literally sex on wheels. So whether you love it or hate it, it doesn't matter. You cannot deny that this is one of the most unique looking SUVs out there right now. You know, there's only so much you can do to make an SUV stand out like that, and BMW did the absolute most. I think it looks very futuristic and kind of like a concept car. And I think part of the reason why it gets so much attention has a lot to do with this grille. So first of all, I love the gold detail they use in the grille and throughout the whole design. This grille is also lit up at night. And again, whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny that it gets a lot of attention and people love it. And honestly, I haven't gotten this much attention driving a car since I was in a red Lamborghini last year. So in terms of flash factor, this XM has tons of it. So supercars aren't exactly known for being really practical, but that's something I think the XM can bring to the table. So in the trunk, there's room for about 530 liters worth of stuff, which can open up to about 1,800 liters with the seats folded. And the seats do fold flat in a 40-20-40 pattern, which means you can fold the middle part down independently, put some skis in there, and still have room for 4 people. So I love that practicality. If I had any complaints about that, it's that the seats fold manually, which kind of sucks considering how expensive this car is. And the other thing I don't like is that the lift over height in the trunk is very high, which means it takes more effort to load and unload. But let's get back on the road. So like I said up top, this is a plug-in hybrid. So it combines a 4.4 liter twin turbocharged V8 with an electric motor and a battery pack with about 20 kilowatt hours of usable energy. So all in, total system output is 644 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. And as you can see, the XM is violently fast in a straight line, and it's gonna get you into a lot of trouble. My only problem with the performance of this SUV is that it is a big, heavy SUV, and you can feel all of that weight when you're bombing through corners. So yes, this SUV does feel pretty capable in the corners, but it doesn't feel fun, and it doesn't feel as engaging and as sharp as I want a BMW M vehicle to feel. And that's part of where my philosophical questions come into play with this SUV, because it's trying to be so many things to so many different people. It's trying to be super luxurious, super sporty, and it ends up being not that good at either of them. So again, I think this BMW could benefit from being a lot more focused. So getting back to it being a plug-in hybrid, you can drive it for 50 kilometers on electricity alone, which is pretty great. Although when I picked it up and it was charged to 100%, it was showing me that I was able to drive 57, which is even better. But let's be real here. If you're spending this much money on this car, you don't really care about saving a couple bucks on fuel. So I'm really not sure why they decided to make this a plug-in hybrid, because the V8 is already so capable on its own. So from a performance standpoint, the plug-in hybrid point doesn't really add that much to its performance. So it's interesting that they did it this way. So there's 3 electric driving modes that I wanted to talk about. There's the hybrid mode, which is the default, and that basically unlocks full power for the V8 and the electric motor and drives in a way that maximizes efficiency. Then there's the full electric mode. Like I said, you can drive on fully electric power alone. And then there's the e-control mode, which is really cool because then you can use the V8 as much as possible to focus on performance and also use the V8 power to charge the battery for later. Or you could save your battery for later when you're traveling through the city, which can be really helpful as well. On top of that, you also have comfort, sport, and sport plus modes. To be honest, I feel like this SUV is extremely stiff, even in comfort mode. And I know this is an M car, but I think they could have dialed up the luxury a little bit more, because it could be, you know, these huge 23-inch wheels, these super low profile P0 performance tires, but you can feel every single bump on the road. And I just don't think that's very becoming of a luxury car. So if you were curious to know about the fuel economy, this XM is rated to get 5.1 liters equivalent per 100 kilometers when driven as a plug-in hybrid or on the EV power alone. And that's fantastic for a vehicle of this size. If you were driving it on the V8 alone though, it's rated to get 17.9 liters per 100 kilometers, which is astronomically high. And it does take premium fuel. And again, if you're spending this much money on that car, I'm pretty sure you won't mind splurging on gas. So this XM does have a bunch of really great technology here that helps it feel a lot smaller than it actually is. And it needs all that help, honestly, because it is so big and heavy. So the first one it has is rear wheel steering. So it makes it easier to maneuver in tight spots like in city streets or in a parking garage, and it makes it pretty easy to park, which is great. The other thing it does is that it makes it feel more stable when you're cornering. And again, it needs all that help because this is a lot of car to be pushing through corners. I have a couple complaints though. Number one is that I feel like the blind spots are very big, and so I don't feel like the visibility is great, which means that navigating through those tight spots is a little bit nerve-wracking. So that's just something to look out for. Some other features it has to help out are that it has active dampers and it has active roll stabilization. And what that does is that it helps keep the SUV very flat when you're cornering, which means there's not a lot of body roll, which is perfect because it is an M car. The downside is that it still feels like a lot of car to be pushing through those corners. Like I said, it is very capable of doing those corners, but I wouldn't call it fun. And I feel like I really want an M car to be fun. And that's where I kind of have a lot of like philosophical questions about this car and its purpose. You know, as an M car, I expected it to be really hardcore. And honestly, because the price tag is so high, my expectations were also through the roof, which I think I'm right to do. And so I wanted it to be a hardcore performance SUV. I also need it to be luxurious because it is an SUV, so it has to have some semblance of luxury and comfort. And because it's trying so hard to do everything, it ends up not really being that good at either of those things. Like, I really think that this XM is maybe 75% as good as it needs to be for the price. And I really wanted it to hit that 100%. I wanted to fall in love with this car, but I'm honestly finding it a little bit difficult. So if we're talking about hardcore performance SUVs, the Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT, which I drove last year, you should probably watch that video because I think it's really good. That vehicle holds, you know, the record for being the fastest production SUV around Nürburgring, and I think that's amazing. That SUV is so focused on being a performance car that it absolutely nails it, knocks that assignment right out of the park. And I wish this BMW XM could match that Porsche on that level. So it needs that dedication. So one thing that Porsche can absolutely not match is this interior. BMW is honestly pushing their interior game so hard, and they absolutely nailed it. I honestly think this is one of the best interiors that I've ever seen, and it could honestly be this BMW's strongest selling point. So first of all, I absolutely love these blue leather seats, and the combination of the blue and the brown looks so good. I also love that the roof is covered in this very smooth, soft Alcantara material. And another really unique feature is this trim on the door and on the dashboard that they call vintage coffee leather. And so they've treated it in a way that really brings out all of those rich imperfections that vintage leather has. You know, like when you have your favorite leather jacket and it gets cooler and more comfortable the more you wear it. That's kind of what BMW is doing with this interior, and it means that no two are alike, which is amazing. There's also real carbon fiber in here, and it is gorgeous. Our video producer Will is back there, and I think he's super comfortable. He gets these lumbar pillows that are also covered in that really nice Alcantara. And then one more kind of crowning feature of this interior is this roof. And so this is something that I've never seen before, and I think it makes the BMW XM extremely unique. So first of all, again, it's covered in this beautiful blue Alcantara, but there's also this really cool 3D diamond pattern in it. And the frame of that portion is also covered in LEDs. So when you turn on the car, it does this cool animation. And someone said to me the other day when they sat back there, I don't even feel like I'm in a car. I feel like I'm in an experience. And I think that really sums up how well BMW did with this interior. If I had any complaints, it's that I really don't like this gear selector. I find it very clunky to use. And the other thing I didn't love is that the other day I was just driving around and the safety sensors were beeping at me non-stop, even though there was no real threat of danger. And it just kind of took me out of my luxury car fantasy. So I wish they would have sorted that out. To recap, I love the BMW XM's unique style, incredible lavish interior, and beefy powertrain. I'm not a fan of how it feels so unfocused considering how expensive it is. To be honest, I'm still pretty confused by this BMW XM. I feel like it's trying to be too many different things to too many different people, and in the end, it's just not as focused as it needs to be for an M car or for something with such a staggering price tag. But if I put on my rich person hat, I can totally understand why someone would buy this SUV. It looks crazy cool and very unique. It is still super fast and super exclusive, and it has the benefit of being more practical than a regular supercar. And I gotta give BMW props for trying something new and pushing the boundaries when it comes to electrified powertrains and performance. I just wish they were able to commit and stay more focused.